Stop scrolling. This is not a casual message. Archangel Michael stands at the doorway of your life, not in fear, but in authority. The image of the flaming sword is not destruction. It is protection. It is defense. It is intervention. And the warning is clear. Something subtle has been draining your future. Not dramatically. Not loudly. Quietly. A pattern of limitation. A mindset of hesitation. A cycle of near success followed by sudden loss. Michael says, "The spirit of lack does not shout. It erodes." Midnight is symbolic. It represents the moment where old cycles attempt to repeat. Where discouragement tries to settle in again. Where you consider giving up quietly. But heaven does not move in panic. It moves in preparation. Jesus sending a $5 trillion shield is not about currency. It is about covering. Capacity. Provision. Strength around your household. A reinforcement of structure so your future cannot be casually shaken. The hidden plan against progress. Have you noticed? Opportunities that almost close. Projects that nearly succeed. Income that rises but never stabilizes. Breakthroughs that feel delayed. That is not random. That is inconsistency in structure. Michael is not yelling because you are cursed. He is alerting you because systems must be strengthened. The shield represents alignment. Budget discipline. Clear allocation. Strategic planning. Emergency reserves. Skill development. When those are activated, lack cannot operate. The midnight principle. Midnight is when most people are tired. Emotionally low. Mentally distracted. Financial decisions are often made during fatigue. Impulses increase. Discipline weakens. Michael's flaming sword represents awareness cutting through distraction. He is not at your door to frighten you. He is there to wake you. The $5 trillion shield meaning. It symbolizes 5 reinforced layers. Income stability. Debt reduction. Liquidity buffer. Investment growth. Generational planning. When these 5 stand together, your equity is protected. Without them, erosion continues quietly. The real battle. The spirit of lack is not mystical. It is overspending without tracking. Fear-driven investing. No long-term planning. Comparing yourself to others. Ignoring financial education. Michael says, what is unguarded becomes vulnerable. Guarding requires action. Not emotion. The shield activation moment. This is not about seconds. It is about decision. Do you reinforce your structure? Or continue hoping stability appears? The sword is symbolic of clarity. Cutting confusion. Cutting procrastination. Cutting distraction. Why this message matters? Because futures are not stolen overnight. They are surrendered gradually. Through inattention. Through lack of structure. Through small financial leaks ignored for years. Michael's presence at the door is a metaphor. Protect your household intentionally. The equity shield in practical terms. Tonight, you can review expenses. Eliminate one unnecessary subscription. Reallocate funds toward savings. Research one new investment concept. Strengthen one skill. That is activation. Small movements. Consistent reinforcement. The QR code and link reflection. If you see a QR code on your screen, or notice a link in the description or comments, pause with discernment. If you choose to engage, let it represent a conscious commitment to strengthen your household, a reminder to steward resources wisely, a symbolic act of protection for your family's future. But never act from fear. Never act because of a countdown. Protection grows from discipline. Security grows from structure. The real shield. The real shield is knowledge, planning, consistency, awareness. Michael stands with the flaming sword not to frighten you, but to illuminate what must be guarded. If you are ready to strengthen your equity and refuse to let lack define your household, comment this word: shield. Comment shield as a declaration that you are choosing protection through discipline, not panic. And if you want to continue deeper into this activation series, say, Chapter 2 continue. Part 2, Midnight Interception Protocol. Do not relax yet. Because what Michael revealed at the door was only the first layer. He did not arrive merely to warn you. He arrived because something was already in motion. And midnight is not just a time on the clock. Midnight represents a financial reset point. A cycle marker. A silent transfer moment. Michael declares, what is not secured by structure will be quietly redirected by weakness. There is no invisible creature stealing your future. There is something more subtle. Misalignment. Poorly defined goals. Untracked outflows. Unprotected assets. Midnight is when unnoticed systems take control. And if you do not govern your system governs you. The interception. Michael standing at the door is symbolic of interception. Interception means a financial pattern was about to repeat. A costly habit was about to reactivate. A missed opportunity was about to pass unnoticed. A contract of complacency was about to renew itself. And the flaming sword represents precision. It cuts repeating cycles. But it does not act without your participation. Because protection requires cooperation. The real 12 a.m. plan. What executes at midnight? Auto-renew subscriptions. Interest compounding on debt. Unchecked expenses. Delayed financial planning. Emotional fatigue decisions. That is the plan of lack. Not mystical. Mechanical. Michael is not fighting shadows. He is confronting weak systems. And he says, your future is not stolen by force. It is drained by neglect. The $5 trillion shield, advanced meaning. 5 trillion is symbolic of abundance potential. But a shield does not produce wealth. It protects wealth. Protection requires asset diversification, cash flow monitoring, risk assessment, strategic patience, generational vision. If even one is missing, gaps appear. And gaps are entry points. The household layer. This message is not only about you. It is about your household. Your children. Your partner. Your future stability. Michael at the door is the image of responsibility. He stands guard. But you must reinforce the walls. Walls are budget systems, insurance, emergency savings, skill growth, Financial literacy. The silent theft. Have you ever felt like money enters but disappears? Progress starts but stalls. Plans are made but never executed. That is not sabotage. It is diffusion of focus. Lack thrives where clarity is absent. Midnight symbolizes moments when clarity fades. So Michael interrupts. Not to scare you, but to sharpen you. The sword of structure. The flaming sword is discipline, not drama. Discipline burns away impulse spending, reactive investing, fear-based decisions, comparison. When discipline enters, lack retreats. The interception window. You do not have 20 seconds. You have a decision window. A choice. Continue casually. Or activate structure. Michael says, equity is not protected by hope. It is protected by order. Order tonight means track your net worth. Reduce one liability. Increase one income stream. Educate yourself intentionally. The QR code and link emphasis. If on your screen there is a QR code, or in the description or comments there is a link, do not treat it casually. If you choose to scan or click, let it symbolize a conscious reinforcement of protection for your household. A deliberate act of strengthening your future. A reminder that stability is built intentionally. But never move from fear. Never move because of pressure. Move because you choose to fortify your equity. Protection is not panic. It is preparation. The second layer warning. Midnight patterns repeat annually. Financial quarters. Tax cycles. Debt cycles. Market cycles. If you do not govern cycles, cycles govern you. Michael stands at the door not because everything is collapsing, but because everything can be strengthened. The activation. Tonight is about interception. Tomorrow is about reinforcement. Next year is about expansion. And 5 years from now, if you stay consistent, you will not fear midnight. You will control it. Comment this word. Fortify. Comment fortify because strengthening your structure today prevents silent erosion tomorrow. If you are ready to continue deeper into full asset security, say. Chapter 3 continue. Part 3, the final seal before midnight. Listen carefully. This is no longer about warning. It is about sealing. Archangel Michael does not stand at your door forever. He stands until the structure is reinforced. Until the gates are secured. Until the household understands what is truly at stake. Midnight is approaching, not as a threat, but as a deadline for decision. Michael speaks with calm authority. What is not sealed becomes negotiable. And your future was never meant to be negotiable. The hidden negotiation. Every time you delay financial discipline, you negotiate your future. Every time you ignore structure, you negotiate stability. Every time you say, later, you negotiate generational security. That is how lack operates. Not loudly, but legally. Through consent. Through inaction. Through drift. Michael's flaming sword is not swinging wildly. It is drawing a boundary. A perimeter. A seal. The seal of equity. A seal is different from a shield. A shield blocks attacks. A seal locks ownership. Ownership of your income, your direction, your discipline, your generational trajectory. The $5 trillion shield symbolized capacity. The seal represents permanence. Once sealed, erosion cannot quietly return. The midnight execution pattern. Midnight represents the execution of unattended patterns. Auto-debt cycles. Interest accumulation. Subscription leakage. Lifestyle inflation. Emotional spending. Delayed investment. These do not happen dramatically. They execute quietly. Michael declares, "You do not lose wealth in one night. You lose it in unattended moments." Tonight is about ending unattended moments. The household perimeter. The spirit of lack cannot enter where order governs. Perimeter security looks like clear financial goals, written allocation plans, monthly review cycles, skill-based income growth, emergency buffers. When these exist, your household stops reacting. It begins commanding. Michael stands at the threshold as a guardian. But guardianship requires participation. The illusion of urgency. You do not truly have 20 seconds. You have awareness. Urgency exists to wake you. But sustainability requires calm. If you panic, you react. If you calm down, you secure. And Michael says, security built in fear will not endure. Build from clarity. The real sword. The flaming sword represents cutting ties to financial denial, avoidance, overspending, comparison, short-term thinking. When these are cut away, your future stabilizes. The deep layer revelation. The spirit of lack is simply a mindset of scarcity. Scarcity thinking leads to defensive decisions. Defensive decisions limit growth. Limited growth reinforces scarcity. It is a cycle. Michael interrupts cycles. Not through magic. Through illumination. The 12 a.m. seal ritual, practical. Before midnight tonight. Write down your net worth. Identify one leak. Close it. Identify one growth opportunity. Research it. Identify one skill. Develop it. That is sealing. Small actions. Compounded consistently. The QR code and link, the symbol of commitment. If you see a QR code on your screen, or a link in the description or pinned comment, do not treat it casually. If you choose to scan or click, let it represent a conscious declaration that your household will not drift. A commitment to reinforce protection around your family. A symbolic act of securing long-term structure. But never act from fear. Never act because a clock is ticking. Act because you are choosing to fortify your equity. Protection grows from discipline. Stability grows from repetition. The final guard before midnight. Michael does not fight shadows. He fortifies foundations. When foundations are strong, midnight passes quietly. No transfer occurs. No erosion happens. No silent negotiation continues. The seal holds. The identity shift. You are no longer someone hoping wealth stays. You are someone structuring wealth to remain. You are not reacting. You are governing. Michael closes this chapter When order seals your household, lack loses access. If you are ready to lock your future permanently, comment this word. Sealed. Comment sealed because ownership secured through discipline cannot be quietly renegotiated. If you are prepared to move into the final reinforcement layer, say. Chapter 4 continue. Part 4, The Permanent Equity Wall. Do not assume the seal is enough. A seal protects ownership, but a wall preserves longevity. Archangel Michael is no longer standing at the door. He is walking the perimeter. Not because something is attacking, but because something must never return. Midnight has passed. And you are still here. Your structure is still standing. Your household is still intact. That means the first battle was awareness. The second battle is permanence. Michael says, temporary discipline brings temporary peace. Permanent structure brings permanent security. The spirit of lack's last attempt. When cycles are broken, they try to return subtly. Not as chaos, but as comfort. You may feel, it's fine now. I don't need to review this month. I'll fix it next quarter. That is how erosion restarts. Not with crisis. With complacency. Michael's flaming sword now represents vigilance. Not reaction. Guarding long-term order. The wall versus the shield. A shield moves with you. A wall stays in place. The equity wall is automated savings. Diversified investments. Emergency reserves. Long-term strategy. Skill expansion. Income layering. A wall means, even when you are tired, even when markets shift, even when distractions appear, your structure holds. The 5 trillion shield revisited. The shield was potential. The wall is implementation. It is not about trillions. It is about layers. Layer 1, income growth. Layer 2, controlled spending. Layer 3, asset ownership. Layer 4, risk management. Layer 5, generational planning. When all 5 operate together, your household does not fluctuate emotionally with circumstances. Michael declares, stability is not luck. It is engineered. The midnight test. Midnight was symbolic. But every quarter has a midnight. Tax season. Market correction. Unexpected expense. Job transition. These are the real tests. If your structure survives these, the wall is working. The psychological upgrade. True equity security is not financial. It is psychological. When you do not fear statements. You do not avoid checking accounts. You do not dread market news. You do not react impulsively. That is when the wall is complete. Michael says, peace is the confirmation that your perimeter is secure. The quiet household impact. When the wall stands, children observe discipline. Partners communicate calmly. Financial discussions are not tense. Planning replaces panic. Future becomes predictable. Predictability builds confidence. Confidence builds expansion. The real meaning of lose everything. Nothing supernatural steals wealth. But poor systems can dissolve it. Lose everything is symbolic of years of progress undone by inattention. Growth reversed by overconfidence. Stability weakened by distraction. The wall prevents regression. The deep strategy layer. Advanced reinforcement requires annual asset review, quarterly rebalancing, monthly expense tracking, weekly awareness, daily discipline. Michael is not dramatic. He is consistent. Consistency wins. The QR code and link, the reinforcement symbol. If you notice a QR code on your screen, or a link placed in the description or comment, do not treat it lightly. If you choose to scan or click, let it represent a declaration that your household refuses to drift backward. A symbolic reinforcement of protection around your family. A reminder that growth requires stewardship. But never move from panic. Never move because of pressure. Move because you choose to strengthen the wall. Security grows through structure. And structure grows through repetition. The era after midnight. The emergency phase is over. The reinforcement phase begins. You are no longer reacting to threats. You are reinforcing permanence. Michael closes this phase with authority. When the wall stands firm, no cycle can quietly return. If you are ready to lock your equity beyond fluctuation, comment this word. Fortress. Comment fortress because protection reinforced through discipline cannot be quietly dismantled. If you are prepared to activate the final elevation stage, say. Chapter 5 continue. Part 5, the final elevation, no return to lack. Be still for a moment. This is no longer about warning. No longer about interception. No longer about ceiling or walls. This is about elevation. Archangel Michael is no longer standing at your door. He is no longer walking your perimeter. He is standing above your household, overseeing what has now been fortified. And he speaks calmly. When structure is elevated, lack cannot climb. Midnight has passed. The wall is standing. But elevation ensures you never descend again. The difference between protection and elevation. Protection keeps threats out. Elevation removes you from the level where threats operate. When you elevate financially, you no longer fear monthly fluctuations. You no longer panic at temporary downturns. You no longer make emotional decisions. You operate from oversight. From clarity. From authority. Michael's flaming sword now symbolizes authority, not defense. You are no longer blocking lack. You are rising above it. The spirit of lack's final weakness. Lack survives only in reactive households. Where income is unpredictable. Spending is unmanaged. Planning is inconsistent. Fear guides decisions. But once you elevate, you anticipate before reacting. You plan before pressure. You adjust before damage. Michael declares, what rises above panic cannot be controlled by it. The $5 trillion shield, the completion layer. The shield began as protection. Now it becomes capacity. Capacity to invest calmly. Grow intentionally. Transfer generational stability. Expand without fear. Elevation is not about dramatic wealth. It is about unstoppable continuity. The 5 elevation anchors. To ensure no return to lack, 5 anchors must remain strong. Long-term vision. You think in decades, not weeks. Capital allocation discipline. Every dollar has a role. Risk containment. No single failure can collapse your system. Skill expansion. You remain relevant in changing markets. Emotional stability. No news headline can disturb your clarity. When these anchors hold, you cannot quietly fall. The real midnight victory. Midnight used to represent vulnerability. Now it represents review. At midnight, your system runs. Savings automate. Investments allocate. Debt reduces. Assets grow. Nothing dramatic happens. And that is the victory. Michael says. True security is silent. The household transformation. When elevation is complete. Your family does not live paycheck to paycheck. They live plan to plan. They do not fear future uncertainty. They design it. Children grow up observing structure. Structure becomes culture. Culture becomes legacy. Legacy becomes permanent equity. The warning about comfort. Elevation must be maintained. Comfort can weaken vigilance. Overconfidence can reopen gaps. Michael reminds. Authority maintained becomes generational. Authority ignored becomes temporary. Stay aware. Stay disciplined. Stay intentional. The quiet power of structure. You no longer chase dramatic breakthroughs. You compound steady growth. You no longer fear missing opportunities. You analyze them calmly. You no longer seek rescue. You engineer outcomes. This is elevation. The QR code and link, the symbol of stewardship. If you see a QR code on your screen, or a link in the description or comments, do not approach it casually. If you choose to scan or click, let it represent a deliberate act of strengthening your household. A conscious commitment to steward resources wisely. A symbolic declaration that your family's future will not drift. But never act because of fear. Never act because of urgency. Act because elevation requires intentional reinforcement. Protection grows from planning. Security grows from discipline. Elevation grows from consistency. The permanent identity shift. You are no longer someone escaping scarcity. You are someone governing stability. You are no longer reacting to cycles. You are designing systems. You are no longer hoping for protection. You are maintaining authority. Michael closes this final elevation stage. When wisdom governs wealth, no spirit of lack can return. Anchor this transformation. Comment this word. Elevated. Comment elevated because rising above reactive cycles ensures you never quietly descend again. If you are ready to enter the ultimate state, where wealth, structure, and legacy operate in harmony, say, Final ascent continue. Final ascent, the unbreakable covenant of continuity. Do not rush this moment. This is not another warning. Not another defense. Not another activation. This is consolidation. Archangel Michael no longer stands at the threshold. He no longer guards the perimeter. He no longer intercepts cycles. He stands in stillness, because nothing is moving against you anymore. And he says, when structure matures into covenant, instability has no legal ground. This is the highest stage. Not protection. Not reinforcement. Not elevation. Continuity. The meaning of covenant. A covenant is not emotional. It is structural. It is when discipline is no longer forced. It is normal. It is when review cycles are automatic. It is when savings are default. It is when growth is expected. It is when fear has no voice in your decisions. Covenant means you and your structure are aligned. Permanently. The end of midnight. Midnight once represented vulnerability. Now midnight represents confirmation. Your systems run. Your assets are allocated. Your buffers are intact. Your risk exposure is measured. Your household sleeps peacefully. Nothing dramatic is happening. And that silence is power. Michael declares. Peace is the sound of a secured future. The collapse of the lack narrative. There is no spirit operating. There is no hidden force. There was only untracked flow, unstructured planning, delayed awareness, emotional decision-making. Once those were removed, lack collapsed. Not because of rescue, but because of structure. The 5 trillion shield, the true interpretation. It was never currency. It was capacity. Capacity to absorb downturns, expand strategically, educate consistently, transfer wealth wisely, adapt across decades. That capacity now lives inside your structure. And that cannot be seized. The generational horizon. Look 20 years forward. Your systems still operate. Look 30 years forward. Your children understand allocation. Look 40 years forward. Your household culture is disciplined. That is continuity. Michael speaks again. Legacy is discipline repeated long enough to become invisible. The final risk. There is only one remaining risk. Neglect. Not attack. Not theft. Not sabotage. Neglect. If review stops. If awareness weakens. If discipline fades. Erosion can re-enter quietly. Continuity requires vigilance. Not fear. Not urgency. Vigilance. The identity of dominion. You are not waiting for rescue. You are not reacting to warnings. You are not chasing miracles. You are governing wisely. You are reviewing regularly. You are adjusting calmly. You are expanding intentionally. This is dominion sustained. The QR code and link, the covenant symbol. If a QR code appears on your screen, or a link is placed in the description or comments, approach it with discernment. If you choose to scan or click, let it symbolize a reaffirmation of structured stewardship. A commitment to protect your household intentionally. A reminder that stability grows through consistent reinforcement. But never act because of countdowns. Never act because of pressure. Act because covenant requires conscious participation. Protection is not dramatic. It is deliberate. The silent confirmation. Notice something. There is no tension now. No alarm. No urgency. Only order. Michael concludes. When wisdom and discipline unite, nothing can quietly dismantle your future. That is the ascent. Not upward chaos, but upward stability. Anchor this final state. Comment this word. Covenant. Comment covenant because lasting wealth is not dramatic, it is governed, reinforced, and preserved through disciplined continuity. The ascent is complete. Now maintain it. Ultimate consolidation, the era where nothing can shake you. Stop. Do not skim this. Because what you are stepping into now is not another phase of protection. It is permanence. Archangel Michael is not warning. He is not intervening. He is observing. And that is the strongest position of all. He speaks calmly. When your foundation is unshakable, no external force needs to be fought. You are no longer in defense mode. You are no longer sealing gaps. You are no longer elevating. You are stabilizing at the highest level. This is the era where nothing quietly destabilizes you again. The difference between strength and stability. Strength can be reactive. Stability is proactive. Strength blocks impact. Stability absorbs it. When markets fluctuate, you do not flinch. When expenses arise, you adjust smoothly. When opportunities appear, you evaluate calmly. There is no rush. No fear. No desperation. Only clarity. Michael says, clarity is the shield that never rusts. The collapse of financial fear. Fear once entered through uncertainty. Uncertainty entered through lack of structure. Now structure governs everything. You track. You review. You allocate. You build. Fear cannot survive in measurable systems. It disappears in the presence of numbers and plans. The permanence formula. Your system now rests on 4 permanent anchors. Predictability, you know where money flows. Protection, buffers absorb shocks. Projection, you see 10 to 20 years ahead. Precision, every decision has intention. When these 4 operate together, erosion becomes impossible. Not because the world stops changing, but because you are no longer fragile. The household transformation. Think about what has changed. Your conversations are calmer. Your planning is clearer. Your reactions are measured. Your direction is intentional. Your family senses stability. Children raised in stability think differently. They plan differently. They act differently. They carry forward structure without realizing it. That is legacy without noise. The truth about losing everything. It was never sudden. Loss happens through repeated microdecisions. Small neglect. Small avoidance. Small delay. Over years, it compounds. But discipline compounds faster. And you have shifted toward discipline. Michael declares. Momentum built through structure cannot be quietly reversed. The post-defense era. You are no longer trying to stop something. You are building something. Expansion is the new focus. Investing wisely. Developing scalable skills. Creating multiple income layers. Thinking in decades. Thinking beyond yourself. The final transition is this. From guarding wealth to governing growth. The hidden strength of boredom. Here is something powerful. If your system feels boring, that means it is stable. Excitement often signals volatility. Silence often signals order. Michael says, stability is quiet. Chaos is loud. Choose quiet power. The QR code and link, a symbol of stewardship, not urgency. If you see a QR code appear, or notice a link placed in the description or comment, pause. If you choose to scan or click, let it represent a conscious recommitment to disciplined growth. A reminder that your household remains guarded through wise stewardship. A symbolic step reinforcing intentional structure. But do not move from pressure. Do not move from fear. Move from conviction. Because true security is never built under countdowns. It is built through consistency. The era of internal authority. You are not waiting for validation. You are not seeking dramatic rescue. You are not reacting to warnings. You are internally governed. That is authority. Authority produces calm. Calm produces precision. Precision produces longevity. Michael concludes. When discipline becomes identity, wealth becomes stable. The 30-year projection. Project Forward. 30 years of disciplined governance. 30 years of asset allocation. 30 years of calm adjustment. You would not recognize the instability you once feared. Because you outgrew it. Not through urgency. Through structure. Anchor this permanence. Comment this word. Unshaken. Comment unshaken because a structured foundation does not collapse under external noise. If you are ready to enter the final mastery layer beyond fear, beyond urgency, beyond volatility, say, legacy continue.